They ruled not only through blood and steel, but through an aura so overwhelming that even death itself seemed to hesitate at their command. Picture standing in the shadow of a man whose very name crushed kingdoms before a single sword was drawn, whose voice could spark both undying loyalty and bone-chilling terror. Today, we're going to tear open the ancient curtain and bring to light the 7 most feared emperors the world has ever known, and reveal the haunting secret that made them, in a way, immortal. Each name etched on this list isn't just carved in dusty scrolls, it's burned deep into humanity's collective nightmares. And as we unfold this dark tapestry, you'll understand why these rulers refused to die. Not because they found eternal life, but because they mastered something far more powerful: the human mind itself. Let us begin in the windswept steppes of Mongolia, where a child named Temujin was born into betrayal and exile. This boy would rise against every conceivable odd to become Genghis Khan, the scourge of God. His armies didn't simply defeat, they obliterated. Entire civilizations surrendered without a fight. Haunted by whispers of entire cities wiped from the earth, every man, woman, and child gone. But the real secret of Genghis Khan's near immortality wasn't only his cavalry or tactics. It was his genius understanding of fear itself. By cultivating a reputation so monstrous, he didn't always need to fight. The fear did his conquering for him, and centuries later, his name alone still rattles like a ghost across the ruins of empires long turned to dust. Now we cross the mountains into ancient China, where a ruler known as Qin Shi Huang dared to do what no man had ever done before: unite a vast, divided land under one throne. His reign was a time of breathtaking ambition and equally breathtaking brutality. Entire schools of thought were burned to ashes. Those who challenged him vanished beneath the ground. But it was Qin Shi Huang's terror of mortality that revealed his greatest secret: his obsession with cheating death. From alchemists crafting deadly potions they swore were elixirs of life, to the construction of an entire terracotta army to defend him in the afterlife, Qin Shi Huang sought to turn his fear of death into a shield. Though poison eventually claimed his mortal body, the empire he shaped and the haunting majesty of his clay soldiers became monuments to a man who refused to disappear from history. Then, travel to the snowbound halls of Russia's grand palaces, where Ivan IV, better known as Ivan the Terrible, reigned with a hand of fire and ice. Paranoid of betrayal, haunted by visions of treason lurking in every shadow, Ivan unleashed the Opera Kanina, a secret force cloaked in black whose presence turned hearts to stone. Cities burned, thousands died, and yet Ivan's iron rule cemented Moscow's power. His rage destroyed his own son, but it was that same unrelenting, merciless fear that sculpted his legend into something eternal. His memory didn't simply survive, thrived, whispered in Russian folktales and history books alike. And that was his secret: conquering not just territory, but the deepest recesses of the mind, so that centuries later, even his silhouette in old paintings stirs unease. From the icy winds of Russia, we descend into the marble corridors of Rome, where Caligula reigned not just with power, but with calculated chaos. Stories of unspeakable acts: dancing his horse a priest, dancing naked before senators, claiming divinity blur the line between myth and reality. But that was Caligula's genius. By turning scandal into legend, by crossing lines no mortal dared, he etched himself into memory far more effectively than any conqueror of land. Historians still debate the truth, but the truth itself matters less than the enduring whispers. The secret behind Caligula's ghost was this: to be truly immortal, become unforgettable, even if it means becoming a monster in the stories left behind. Further south, in the sun-baked plains of Africa, Shaka Zulu rose as a storm of blood and brilliance. Born into a world of fragmented tribes, Shaka forged the Zulu nation through iron discipline and revolutionary warfare. His warriors carried short, stabbing spears, moving in deadly formations that crushed foes under a relentless advance. Yet it wasn't only his tactics that made him feared, it was his brutal punishment of disobedience, the complete submission he demanded. His name became both pride and terror, burned into a culture that long outlived him. Shaka's secret? Fear, yes, but also transformation. He didn't just build an army, he reforged an entire identity, so that even after his assassination, his people and his legend marched on through time. Now hear the galloping hooves of the man Europe called the Scourge of God, Attila the Hun. To Roman chroniclers, He was not merely human, but an apocalypse in flesh. Entire cities emptied at rumor of his approach. Emperors paid him gold to keep him away, and still he came, burning and demanding tribute. Yet Attila's power wasn't only in swords and fire. His genius lay in becoming myth before death, turning fear itself into his greatest weapon. Even after his sudden death on his wedding night, Europe kept seeing Attila's shadow in every threat from the east, his memory living on as a symbol of terror itself. And that was the secret. The legend was so carefully fed during life that death only made it stronger. Last, we crossed the burning deserts and rich cities of Persia and Central Asia to meet Timur, known to the west as Tamerlane. His campaigns left entire landscapes littered with skull pyramids, yet he also built cities of exquisite beauty and patronized scholars and poets. Timur understood that destruction and creation are two faces of the same coin. His terror spread farther because it was wrapped in paradox. A conqueror who burned cities but planted gardens. A butcher who quoted poets. The secret of Timur's immortality was this fusion, so terrifying that enemies prayed not to see his banners, yet so fascinating that even those who hated him could not look away. His bones crumbled into dust, but the duality of his legacy remains immortal. What links these seven? It isn't merely conquest or cruelty, it's mastery of memory. They built monuments not only in stone, but in fear, in rumor, in the human need to tell stories. Long after empires collapse, the stories remain, whispered in markets, painted in murals, carved into dusty tomes, and now reborn on screens like yours. And maybe, just maybe, that's the secret to cheating death. To craft a story so powerful, so haunting, that it lives on in those yet unborn. But consider this. These emperors were not gods. They bled, they aged, they died. Yet what set them apart was the almost supernatural way they wielded fear and fascination as weapons sharper than any sword. By embracing darkness, they carved a place for themselves in eternity, not in flesh, but in the minds of all who came after. It is there, in the quiet hours before sleep, that the echoes of their names still stir. And while their kingdoms have turned to dust, the nightmares and legends they sowed remain stubbornly alive. Even now, the world is haunted by leaders, influencers, and icons who mimic these ancient methods, crafting myths, wielding fear, seducing with legend. The modern world wears a different crown, but the lesson is the same. Rule minds, and you outlive your own breath. Rule only bodies, and you fade the moment your heartbeat stops. Genghis, Qin Shi Huang, Ivan, Caligula, Shaka, Attila, and Timur understood this truth better than any history book dares to admit. So, what about us? What do we remember and why? We remember what frightens us. We remember what fascinates us. And so, in remembering them, we keep them alive. In a paradox almost beautiful, the very fear they sowed becomes the soil that feeds their immortality. And as you finish this journey, ask yourself, is it better to be loved and forgotten or feared and remembered forever? Before you leave this shadowed path through history, there's one final invitation. If you hunger for more forgotten emperors, cursed dynasties, and forbidden secrets that shaped our world in ways schools never dared to teach, then subscribe now to Vertex of Time. Hit the bell, share this video, and step deeper into the past where history becomes legend and legends refuse to die. Because here at Vertex of Time, the past doesn't just live, it waits, and it calls. Join us.